Hello friends, in this video we will discover the top 10 most beautiful countries in Europe. Europe has such an enormous range of diversity, culturally and geographically, that it would take years to discover every one of its 44 countries and pick your favorite. There's the volcanic, icy beauty of Iceland in the north, and the soft greens and dramatic cliffs of the Norwegian fjords, or the mountains and castles of Scotland, or the gastronomy and fine art of France. To the south, the culture is completely different, as is the climate. Perhaps you should head to Italy for a taste of La Dolce Vita, or Greece for ancient history, and some of the most spectacular beaches in the world. Kindly hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon before we start this video about the 10 most beautiful countries in Europe. Now let's dig deeper into each of the top 10 most beautiful countries in Europe. Number 10. France. Stretching from the Côte d'Opale sitting across the English Channel from the UK in the north, to the super glamorous Côte d'Azur in the south, France is filled with gorgeous landscapes to explore. As you explore one of the most beautiful countries in Europe, you'll find rolling vineyards, fields of lavender, and rugged mountains. But a trip to France reveals much more than just natural beauty. Its metropolises are home to incredible architecture that set the 17th century tone that many other European cities coveted and then copied. In Paris, wide boulevards are lined with iconic sites: the Arc de Triomphe, the Eiffel Tower, and the Louvre Museum's unique pyramid entrance juxtaposed with the Gothic finery of the main Louvre Palace are just three to whet the appetite. A short drive away from the city reveals another icon, the Palace of Versailles, a former royal residence and World Heritage Site, and considered one of the finest examples of 17th century architecture on the continent. Number 9. Sweden. Sweden is one of the most beautiful European countries, and you don't have to venture far from Stockholm to find its prettiest places. One of the best capital cities in Europe, Stockholm sits in an enchanting archipelago set in the Baltic Sea, made up of some 30,000 islands and islets, of which only 1,000 are inhabited. Back in the city itself, the old town of Gamlestan is the place to visit. Set on its own island, it features a maze of cobbled streets lined with brightly colored houses dating from the 17th and 18th centuries. Gamlestan is also home to the Royal Palace, the 13th century Riddarholmen Church, and the Nobel Prize Museum, one of the best museums in Stockholm. Yet another stunning location in the archipelago is Drottningholm Palace, a 17th century royal residence on the island of Loven. Number 8. Portugal. The lovely Portuguese capital of Lisbon is as handsome a city as you'll come across on Europe's Atlantic coast. Set at the mouth of the Tagus estuary, its pastel-colored buildings, many lined with decorative ceramic tiles, seem to tumble down the hill that leads from 8th century San Jorge Castle to the port below. South of the capital, Parque Natural da Arabida is a coastal park and home to mountains, ancient forts, and iconic white chalk cliffs that dip into the azure Atlantic. To the north lies the country's second city, Porto, home to the haunting medieval Ribeira, Riverside district, with its narrow, cobbled streets, old merchants' mansions, and bars serving wine from the local estates. Away from the mainland, there's much beauty on Portugal's islands too. The coastal village of Camara de Lobos, outside Madeira's capital Funchal, is so pretty it is said to be the place that inspired Winston Churchill to take up painting. Number 7. Scotland. The beauty of Scotland lies more in its wild ruggedness, rather than it being impossibly pretty. Towering Monroes, as peaks of more than 3,000 feet are called here, windswept moors, and steep-sided valleys of verdant green line the interior, while the coast's magnificent white sand beaches could well be in the Caribbean if the water were warmer. And then, of course, there are the mighty lochs. Loch Ness, just outside the town of Inverness, is of course the most famous. You might not see the legendary monster Nessie here, but head out on a boat from the town center, and at the point where the River Ness empties into the loch, an incredible landscape opens up ahead of you as the vast expanse of water unfolds. Urquhart Castle, a 13th century ruin on the loch edge, only enhances the sheer sense of mystery included in a journey here. Head right across the country to the southwest to find Trossachs National Park, home to the bonny banks of Loch Lomond and a region with some of Europe's most spectacular vistas. You'll see Inversnaid Falls, Ben Lomond, its summit usually hidden by mist, and gorgeous Loch Katrine, which looks particularly beautiful when framed by a setting sun. Number 6. Norway. Nowhere can match the incredible fjords of Norway for their serene beauty. Ribbon-like waterfalls tumbling down dramatic cliffs against a backdrop of snow-capped mountains. The country's longest and deepest fjord, Sognefjord, branches into two equally impressive smaller arms, Erlandsfjord and Nærøyfjord. Erlandsfjord, the eastern branch of the two, is known for its steep railway, the Flamsbane, that climbs to the village of Flam with its pretty natural harbor and 17th century church passing gushing waterfalls along the way. The journey is believed to be one of the most beautiful railroad trips in the world. Homage to the beauty of Norway's fjords can also be paid at Preikestolen, the Pulpit Rock, a flat outcrop that offers a natural viewing platform as it towers almost 2,000 feet above Lysefjord. The hike to the summit is a challenging one on a precipitous path, but is rewarded with vertiginous views of the waters below. Number 5. Italy. Italy is home to some of the most beautiful buildings and artwork in the world. Rome's famous landmarks, such as the Colosseum, are rivaled only by those in Athens for their majesty. The city-state of the Vatican, home to the Pope and the headquarters of the Catholic Church, houses truly iconic art and architecture, including the incredible Sistine Chapel, the location of Michelangelo's famous ceiling. Florence, meanwhile, feels like a cross between a movie set and a living, breathing museum. The Cathedral Santa Maria del Fiore, also known as the Duomo, is said to be the third largest church in the world, and has an elaborate 17th century facade in the Gothic Revival style. For natural beauty, the country's southwest is unmatched. Driving down the Limon-Amalfi coast sees every switchback reveal another celebrated view. The first sights of either Mount Vesuvius in Naples or Mount Etna in Sicily are truly jaw-dropping events, given the impressive majesty of both volcanoes. Number 4. Iceland. A visit to Iceland is a little like visiting another planet rather than another country, simply because it is so jaw-droppingly different to anywhere else in Europe. Almost entirely volcanic outside of the cities, towns, and villages, the landscape is one of towering peaks, deep valleys, rocky coastlines, and lunar landscapes. Reykjavik, the capital, is a pretty port town, with jauntily colored homes and iconic buildings such as Perlan, a futuristic dome housing a fine dining restaurant, and Hallgrímskirkja, a church shaped like a Viking longboat. But it's outside of town that some of the country's standout sites lie on a route known as the Golden Circle. Thingvellir National Park sits in a rift valley between two tectonic plates and centers around Thingvallavatn, Iceland's second biggest lake and site of the country's original parliament. It is home to hiking trails past the lake, crashing waterfalls, and the ruins of several old stone shelters, all set against the most dramatic of landscapes. Number 3. Ireland. When thinking of Ireland for most people, Dublin will spring to mind. While the Irish capital is abuzz with culture and an incredible pub scene, much of Ireland's natural beauty lies on its west coast, along the incredible Wild Atlantic Way driving route. Starting at the impossibly picturesque town of Kinsale just south of Cork, it winds its way up the island's western seaboard in a series of towering cliffs, craggy coves, and vast beaches. There is much to admire over the border in Northern Ireland, too, which is also famed for its dramatic coastline, which includes Gobbin's Coastal Path, a wild cliff-face walk that includes a series of bridges offering bird's-eye views over deep-sea caves and the crashing waves below. Some 60 miles north of Gobbins is another of Ireland's icons, the famed Giant's Causeway. One of the best places to visit in Ireland, this 33-mile stretch of coast is home to more than 40,000 basalt columns, formed more than 60 million years ago thanks to an ancient volcanic eruption. A UNESCO World Heritage Site, it was once voted the fourth greatest natural wonder in Great Britain. Number 2. Spain. With Mediterranean beaches, beautifully wild mountainous interiors, World Heritage cities, and volcanic islands, Spain offers a beguiling mix to travelers and is, without doubt, one of the most beautiful European countries. Much like Greece, its history is long and varied, with periods of rule by Visigoths, Romans, and the Moorish Muslim Caliphate, all leaving their mark over the centuries, the latter particularly in southern Spain. It's here that some of the country's most impressive Moorish architecture can be found, the most famous of which is probably Granada's Alhambra, a fortified complex of palaces, towers, and gardens that dominates the skyline. The Alhambra rightfully takes its place as one of the 7 wonders of the Muslim world. The Alhambra can be visited from Malaga, the birthplace of one of the most famous artists of the 20th century, Picasso, and home to the Castillo de Gibralfaro, a ruined castle offering incredible vistas over the Alboran Sea to North Africa. The influence of Malaga's most famous son can be seen to the north in his adoptive city of Barcelona, home to the extensive Picasso Museum, the evocative Gothic Quarter, and La Sagrada Familia, the largest unfinished Catholic church in the world. Number 1. Greece. Greece is not only one of Europe's oldest countries, the birthplace of democracy, philosophy, medicine, and geometry, among others, but also one of its most beautiful. Sitting on the edge of Europe, with the Balkans to the north, Africa to the south, and Asia to the east, its location at the meeting of 3 continents has not only made it a prized acquisition for the powers that be, but also incredibly geographically diverse. There are towering mountains, some said to have been the home of the gods, deep valleys, and vast lakes on the mainland. In Athens, you'll be struck by the sheer beauty of the Parthenon, perched on top of Acropolis Hill. And then there are the islands, and what islands they are. Greece is home to more than 2,000 of them. Crete, meanwhile, is so vast, it could almost be a country of its own, and retains its own beauty thanks to locations such as the old Venetian harbor at Chania and the breathtaking San Maria Gorge, one of Europe's best and most challenging hikes. So which are your favorite countries among the top 10 most beautiful countries in Europe? Well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content of this video, click the subscribe button so you can receive more content like this. Post your favorite countries among the top 10 most beautiful countries in Europe in the comments below. I'd love to read them, and I'm sure others would too.